Going to call the regular meeting of council to order for Monday, March 17th. To approve the agenda, please. Councillor Noxana.
That the March 17th, 2025 regular council meeting agenda be adopted as presented.
Seconder, Councillor Dussault. All in favor? Carried. Adoption of the minutes for March 3rd, 2025 regular meeting minutes. Councillor Norbury.
That the March 3rd, 2025 regular meeting minutes be adopted as presented.
Seconder, Councillor Noxana. Any errors or omissions from council? I have one. It's actually not noted in the minutes, but I did make a comment just in regards to the youth center that used to maybe be ran by the municipality. It actually used to be called the teen center, and it was ran still by a society. Just want to make sure that's noted. I did reach out to people that had talked about it, and I know staff had tried to look it up as well, but that's my understanding. But it's not noted, but I just want to make sure council was aware of that. Anything else from staff?
No.
Thank you. Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Any business arising from the minutes? Council? Staff?
No.
Thank you. Moving on to delegations, Tumbler Ridge Museum Foundation, Zena Conlin, Executive Director, in attendance to present to council their annual report and answer any questions council may have. Welcome. Oops.
Good evening, afternoon, not sure. So thank you, Mayor Krakow and Council, for giving us the opportunity to present to you today. I'm here with our Vice President, Birgit Sharman, to present the Tumbler Ridge Museum's annual update. So I think in your package you have our full report as well. So from that, I just wanted to pull out a few highlights from 2024. She's already there. Thank you. So although other forms of revenue were down, especially gift shop sales, but I think that is kind of par for the course. It's coming out like industry-wide, like everybody's sales are kind of down. Tracksite tour participation was up significantly with an increased revenue of 51% over 2023. We launched some new programs. So we did a fossil hunting 101, which we are bringing back again this spring. And we were doing a new program called Doors Open as part of our membership with Northern Trails Heritage Society. And last year that brought in 146 visitors on a single Saturday. We're just in planning mode for doing that again this summer. In terms of collections and research, we launched a new initiative collaborating with the Geopark in the creation of a formal research group. So this is comprised of staff and volunteers from both organizations to coordinate research and publishing projects. We had one paper published in 2024, and we have another currently in press, and that one is in collaboration with the Royal BC Museum as well, and publication is imminent, so we're gnawing at the bit to get that one out because it's going to be a good one. We signed several new repository agreements with resource and heavy industry. So from these agreements, we received 70 specimens from Canuma Resources Willow Creek Mine, a small representative sample from work being done by Enbridge Pipelines in the South Piece. So that's kind of up around the Hudson's Hope area, that work's being done. And we are currently waiting for delivery of specimens from the CTI Plus Resources baseline study. We submitted 2 major grant applications quite late in the year, one for an infrastructure development plan, and that was done with the assistance of the district grant writers. They were incredibly helpful. And one for a major online exhibition with the assistance of professional exhibit design consultants. So I can say we have had a positive result on one of these, but as of yet it has not been made public by the funder. So I can't say too much more other than that we are doing some initial work behind the scenes. And then an official, we should be hearing back on that second grant in April. So hopefully that one comes to fruition as well. So then the last thing I'd really like to highlight from 2024 is the hiring of our programs and events coordinator in October. So probably along with the stabilization of our core funding, with the addition to the PRD to the district funding core stabilized mix, this is probably the one thing that is truly a game changer for us heading into 2025. Next slide, please. So visitor numbers were up slightly over 2023, as we kind of expected. They didn't rebound in the way that we hoped, but we are happy with the summer that we had. So interestingly though, the percentage of regional visitors was the highest that we have ever recorded at 39%. So that's all of PRD. And then, so with our BC and Alberta visitors combined, that makes up 82% of our 2024 numbers. Next slide. So as you can see, we have several capital and special projects on the go, all at different stages of development and implementation. All of these are carryovers from 2024, so they're either started in 2024 or prior to that. On the plans to be completed in 2025 are the first stage of the heavy collections upgrade, which was a big one, getting that shelving installed. That's coming up really, really quick. Producing an infrastructure development plan, that kind of the first stage of getting the collections database implementation done and complete with our current and known data set. And that will move into like regular operational activity after this year. The redevelopment of the garden beds, so we have 2 beds in the community garden and then a plot out front, kind of in front of the museum. So we have a plan to redevelop that and start doing education programs in there again. And we are working on a book publication through archives. It's a publication comprising of the articles of Anne Mullins. She was up here in the early 80s and wrote for the Vancouver Sun and wrote kind of a series of Tumbler Ridge. And so we're working with her and we're working with Vancouver Sun to develop that into a book. And we're hoping that should be published in the fall. So then our bigger multi-year projects kind of include accessibility improvements, the digital exhibition, gallery upgrade, repatriation project, facade improvements, education room upgrades, and a planned expansion of our cabin pool track site. So some of these still have other open dependencies, such as grant confirmations and workload and scheduling that need to be worked out. So even with the extra hands, this is a lot of work for very few people. Next slide, please. We'd also like to provide an update on our plans for 2025. So we are currently offering drop-in programs on the second weekend of every month. We are once again offering birthday parties. We did our first one this weekend. And we have 2 professional development day camps planned. I believe 1 in May and 1 in June. Our programs and events coordinator has formalized our volunteer program, and we are seeing renewed interest in volunteer participation. I do believe over the last week and a half, we've recruited, I think 3 or 4 new volunteers to the organization. And we are working on revamped versions of our spring education programming and bringing back multi-day summer camps for the summer, and then additional outreach activities. So in terms of recruitment, we recently created and filled a new part-time position of special projects coordinator. So this is going to be our point person to help with the administration and coordination of our capital and special projects. So with 1 person just dedicated to that, we've already seen significant progress, especially with that heavy collections upgrade project. And additionally, for the summer, we have applied for grants for 4 summer students, and we're just waiting on the outcomes of that. The research group will be reconvening in April to begin work on summer plans. Internally, we are planning to be active at least 4 sites this field season, and are fielding requests from outside researchers for access to our collections and sites and collaboration. One of those is a researcher from a university in Germany who is interested in coming over and researching ichthyosaur material. And then also working with an author who's actually writing a children's book about paleontology in BC. The gallery and repatriation project kind of go hand in hand with fund development. So there are other projects kind of fully funded and kind of handed off to other staff for implementation. These are the next two big ones that are top of the list for planning and development, so kind of trying to find the rest of the money. And in archives, we're always collecting, documenting, and organizing. We have a new volunteer that has recently joined the team. And I found out today we have a second new volunteer that has recently joined the archives team. And so right now we're kind of focusing on training and then compiling records for the Anne Mullins book. And then last but not least, on March 8th, so last weekend, we held our second not quite annual fundraiser in support of the education room upgrades, where we raised approximately $3,500. So we still have a few bills kind of coming in, but that's kind of where we think we've landed. And I do want to especially thank the members of council and district staff who attended. It's very much appreciated. Next slide. I also do want to thank and acknowledge the excellent relationships we've continued to develop with district staff over the last year. The not-for-profit meetings, joint programs, stakeholder engagement, and open and consistent communication are greatly valued and are indicative of the vibrant and inclusive community we are building together. So as mentioned, you have our full annual report, which includes a lot more detail than I have presented today. So we are happy to answer any questions.
Perfect. Thanks very much, Zena and Brigitte, for coming in. I mean, really appreciate the updates, keeping us in a loop and what you're working on, what you're having issues with, and trying to move things forward. Questions from council first. Council Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. Thank you both for coming in. It's a good report, and your annual report is outstanding. Like, I haven't seen many of these before. It's very thorough. Yeah, well done. So, you know, I'm really excited about the fossil hunting program coming back. It's really exciting. Unfortunately, I've had some issues this last year. I wasn't able to attend it last year, but getting information on how to do that would be, I definitely want to attend. I've seen a lot of TikToks and people finding them, and it'd be fun to do that as well. You mentioned repository agreement with some industry partners. Can you tell me, like, I apologize, but can you just tell me exactly what that is? It sounds to me like if somebody finds a specimen in the wild, they'll just bring it to you. Is that basically what that is?
Yes and no. So the province of BC introduced legislation that in addition to archaeology studies, anybody doing new heavy industrial kind of work also has to do paleontology studies. So from that, we definitely don't want or need everything that's found. But from all of these different sites, so if fossil material is found, the museum is to be contacted, and then we can go out and assess whether we're going to take that material or not, or whether it's representative or what. But it is actually legislated now that that industry does have to manage and look for fossil material in their work. And let us know about it.
Yeah. Thanks for that. Can I continue?
Yep.
Thank you. You talked about summer students. One of the big things, every time Bob's here, I hit him with it. Like, Bob, we need these summer students. And, you know, Bob does say, well, I do make sure that Tumbler Ridge gets all that he can. So he's definitely a big advocate for us. But also, I've been told the best thing to do also is to reach out to him and let him know. And I know he's been very good about advocating for Tumbler Ridge for those summer jobs. And I know for all organizations, they're very important for you all to continue and provide the great operations. So, yeah, thanks for the update. Really appreciate it. Doing a great job.
Councillor Knoxon and then Councillor Dussault.
Thank you. I was fortunate enough to attend the birthday party this weekend, and it was a lot of fun. And your program coordinator did an amazing job. So she's a really good asset to the facility, I would say. It was great. I just had a question also on the agreement with industry to collect or assess maybe the fossils they found. Is there funding attached to that, either from the provincial government or the industry that is requesting the museum to come out?
Not directly, no. But it is so if there's anything major found that is quite large, it is industry's responsibility to get it to the museum. But there is no actual funding attached to it.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Dussault and then Councillor Julik.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, thank you for coming in and presenting. I mean, this is an outstanding report, so thank you for everything that's in there. I also had the privilege of attending your Inland Sea Party and bid on a couple of things and got a couple of things, but that was lots of fun. And hats off again to Chris for helping put that together and doing an outstanding job. She's doing amazing up there so far, so she's doing great work. I was also happy to see that you were able to use the grant writers to get to apply for the Rural Economic Diversification and Infrastructure Program for standard museum requirements for improvements. So it was great to see you were also able to do that. So there again, I just want to thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Councillor Julik.
I agree with all the other things all the other councillors said. It was pretty cool. I'm excited about the Anne Mullen book. Anytime we can get some kind of book put together, and I think that's a good use of the archives and stuff, because I bet there's a lot of stuff in there we don't even get to see. When I think about what's over at the community center, it's pretty cool, the history that we have, and often we get focused on the dinosaurs, so I'm really excited to hear the people side of things, so really grateful you're doing that. And the education planner on the gardens, that's interesting to me too. I always think I'm gonna be a gardener, and usually I'm not, but so are the education plans just for kids, or are they gonna be like for the whole community, or?
I don't have the details on that.
All right, that would be a Karis
Yeah,
thing.
I know for sure, I do believe the drop-in program in May, which is a family thing, is a family thing, and that's kind of like gonna be a big planting weekend, we hope. And then we're also, so as part of that, so we're working with community gardens, and we're working with Twin Sisters Nursery as well to fill those beds. So.
Very cool. All right, well, thanks again. It was a great report. Thanks.
Councillor Dussault.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to add one more thing. I just wanted to give a big shout out to Birgit for going out and about and doing all that footwork for the silent auction. So, thank you.
All right, anything else from council? Okay, I have a few. One thing I've seen within your report, congratulations on your membership change. That it is not a lifetime membership, that it's going to be the annual thing. Good on you guys. I think that's a great change. I think you get people more engaged. You know, you don't just buy a membership, show up when you want. People will be more engaged, I think, and I think that's great. Great, obviously, from yourself, Zena, but also the board to support that. Good on you there. Grants. Are you still seeing a concern with staff capacity for filling out grants?
I think now we are probably a little bit better situated. Having 1.5 more people is really, it's amazing the amount of time it's freed up or allowed to refocus on other things. And then I feel it's likely we'll use the grant writers, the district writers again as well, and that definitely helps us take a load off. So I think we're probably about right-sized right now.
Okay, so we can stop trying to hammer the ministry. Okay, and then that's why I'm asking these questions, because again, that was one of the topics again, to go and hammer them. Yeah, it was great what you guys have been trying to do. You send it all. I see them all too. How would you like us to fill it out? So that's why I asked that question. One comment I just want to make in regards to your archives is congratulations with all the volunteer hours from Miss White. I mean, that is huge, huge. So I think we need to, you know, definitely need to single her out for what she's taken on, and obviously some of the stuff that's being archived, it's because of the volunteer hours. So I think that needs to be said in this room about Ms. White with all the time that she's spending there. It's great. You're seeing stuff come out of that for sure. Repository, have you heard from the government in regards to what you need to have to be approved? As they already have the requirements in regards to having that. They already have it, and we asked for that, and I was told it was communicated, but my understanding of some of the information I've read, it doesn't seem like you've been fully communicated on what you actually need to have to be actually classified as a provincial repository.
Yeah, so we do have that. It's a massive checklist. And probably, if we get this infrastructure development plan done, that's going to be the major piece to move that process forward. Because a part of it is, or a large part of it is just the ongoing, the requirements for it to be a repository as far as like museum standards go, right? So not just, you know, is the building fine, but is the building what it needs to be for the museum, and that's where this other plan will come and will be costed out and phased out. And then that goes back to the province.
Okay. Did they send you any funds with it? Did they give you any money to do all this?
Well, the infrastructure development plan is one of the grants that we applied for. But is to be a fossil repository, no.
Okay.
There's,
So I think that needs to be very clear.
yeah.
And the reason I bring this up, this council said, like, you know, we're already storing fossils from the area that we live in, but we're also seeing fossils coming in from elsewhere of the province. It's not our job to house these for you. So you're talking about building one in Victoria, great. Build a second one in Northeast BC. So to me, you know, I understand they're going to dialogue with you guys and send you the information and the requirements and all this. Again, we handed them that we have no capacity to write grants in 2024 and 2023 and 2022, and then you send this to the organization without anything attached. How do you do it? Like, how do you know what I mean? Like, and it's great that you're applying for grants. Don't take me wrong, Zena. This isn't on you guys. To me, this is on the government. And you know, again, we'll be heading down to the UBCM in September. And again, like, it's great that you're putting this paperwork in front of staff at the museum, but you're not attaching any dollars to it. And I think that's really, really important. We're storing your fossils. They're they're province's fossils. They're not districts of Tumbler Ridges.
Yep.
Put some money into it to you guys, not to us. So I think it's just something we need to hammer back on. I mean, I understand you're applying for grants, and I'll be honest, when I've seen the ones that you've applied for, so this council has built really, really good connections with ministry and ministry staff. Some of the staff obviously has moved around within the ministries, but they're pretty easy to dialogue with. So, you know, obviously you're waiting to hear back on some grants, and maybe we'll just have to give them a little shove when we have an opportunity to, which will be fairly soon. That's something we can do, right? We can give that little shove to say that you've thrown this stuff out to our museum, which is great, but now you need to support it with that grant that they've been applying for. The other one is summer students for last year. How many did you have? I believe you applied and didn't get as many as you applied for.
We applied, oh goodness, what did we apply for now? I think we applied, one, two, I want to say we applied for 4 or 5 and we got 3.
Okay. Got 3. And I just write that down because I did have a conversation with Mr. Zimmer in regards to it, not just for yourselves, but also for the geopark and such, that it's so important for these organizations to be able to add the tours or whatever to make sure that they can give it to the public and the tourists that come to our community. So again, I just wanted to know the numbers so I could say to them again, this is what they asked for, 5, you gave them 3. They're asking for 4, maybe give them 5. You know, give them more than what they're asking for. You know, he's pretty good, but I mean, it's, you know, we need our fair shake too. We used to be really, really supported well with summer students, and it's kind of leaned off a bit. And I understand the funding model isn't always there, but it's something we can advocate for too, is through Mr. Zimmer's office. Probably a touchy subject, maybe not. The mask. I hear about it all the time.
Yep.
I get questioned about it anytime I meet with the First Nations. I understand, I read your report, funding concerns and stuff like that. Off the side desk, can you, I know you don't know even, we, at this point, my understanding is we don't even know what we actually need to protect it. I could be wrong, that's kind of how I read it.
No, that is correct, yeah.
So I would like to know if you can give a number, you need $50,000 to get a, I mean, I don't want to call him a contractor, but somebody that has the knowledge, and I apologize, I wouldn't know what the term would be, to come to Tumbler Ridge, or Dialogue Online, whatever it works out, to have that done. This is what you need, and then when you get that, it costs you this. What do we need for that?
That's my next step in that, is to figure out what that dollar amount is.
You had to throw a ballpark number out there right now, not being held to it.
I'm not sure, because I know.
$50,000 bucks,
we're-
$100,000, what are you looking
I
at?
don't think so, because we're gonna try and work through the Canadian Conservation Institute, and they do a lot of free work for museums.
Yep.
But I don't know if we have to pick up the cost for travel or anything. But I think they will do the consultation for free. Now, if we need conservation work done on that, after that, that is likely going to be something else. Or if we need custom crates built, that kind of thing, that's a whole other thing, but.
When would you have a budget for that? And the reason I ask that is, this is an Indigenous item.
Yep.
Again, I get hounded every time I meet with our local neighbors. I believe that this is something that government will pay, not only through tourism or the Minister of Tourism's thing, but in the Indigenous Minister as well. This is something that we can do with our neighboring communities. West Moberly, Soto, Halfway, Doig, all them can come together. They're all part of it, and send a letter. And I'm thinking we could get funding fairly easy. I could be wrong, but again, this is something that.
Yeah.
That's why I asked that.
Yeah, so the complication that I've run into with that is we've, in our consultations, we've basically just been talking about the cabinet, right? The case that it's going to go in and how we fund that. But most of the funding out there also is about creating displays and telling those stories.
Yep.
And at this point, in my conversations, there hasn't been a desire to do that part of it. But for a museum to get the grant, we have to do that part of it as well. So we're just kind of, we're just trying to figure it out.
Because my understanding, there's also supposed to be replicas done. Or there was a conversation, and I know we can meet offline or whatever, but maybe it's time for another meeting.
Yeah.
Again, this is something that gets dialogued quite often, and I think we can move it forward on your behalf in regards, I don't want to deal with it. I don't have the experience in it, but I think that with First Nation support with our local neighbors, as well as advocacy from this council, sending letters to the ministry saying, listen, you always want to know what you could do for us. This is what we need to protect this mask. That it's an Indigenous artifact, and it needs to be protected for the Indigenous, but also for all to be able to see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We might be able to get an easy funding process for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I did try and get a meeting together. I think that the timing was just bad, kind of in November. But I think just leading up to Christmas, everybody was very busy. But I haven't reached out again to set something up. But I can definitely do that.
So maybe we can dialogue offline.
Yeah.
If you don't mind. I have pretty good contacts obviously with the local First Nations, but I think we can start that, because I when I talked with Chief Wilson and Chief Paquette, they're like, well, why wouldn't we just have BC pay for it? So they have an ins too when they meet with ministry too of what can they do for them. And I think this is a joint project. I mean, it's their mask, and we're just trying to make sure it's protected and we don't lose it. So, okay, and I appreciate that. The other question I'd have is, what can council do for you in regards to advocating with ministry? Do you have any points at this point? I mean, it's not till September,
Right.
but we do start setting the stuff in June. Obviously, at capacity for grant has been scratched. So that's one thing. If you have not received or heard about your other grants that you've applied for, we definitely can circle back with those ministries.
Great.
But is there anything that's at the top of your plates?
I would say, top of the plate is going to be whatever infrastructure that we need doing as a result of getting a plan developed. So that would be, and I mean, I don't know what that's going to look like right now. But I do know some of the initial numbers, and speaking with consultants on renovations, is gonna be like in the multi-millions. And so that would probably be the biggest thing, yeah.
Okay, and do you know when the plan, because I know you applied for a grant.
We applied for a grant, and so the timing that we are planning on is to have that document created by the end of summer. So once we know, it will happen quite quickly.
Okay, so you still, do you know when you may hear back in regards to the grant?
It should be any time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. When you do hear, if you can let us know.
Will do.
And then if you can, like, we can add that, it depends on when you talk about end of summer for your plan. Like, we can always add that as a conversation piece with ministry, and if you have it done in time, it'd be great.
Yeah.
Especially with numbers attached, because obviously we would look for provincial, but maybe some federal. So if you have an idea or such, even if you just have a concept, I have 3 councillors heading off to FCM. It's obviously an election year or will be an election year. I shouldn't say it is, because that's not been announced, but it looks like it will be an election year for the federal. But they may have an opportunity to touch base so that they can, just make sure people are aware about Tumbler Ridge and that we might be looking for some federal matching funds with a provincial grant. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, and I know I've seen staff writing that down, so we'll dialogue back with that. But that was one of the ministries that we plan on meeting with multiple ministries, obviously Minister of Tourism. And, we just want to make sure that we're advocating for the right tools for the museum and other organizations within our community. And I think it's really important that we don't hit the same ones if we don't need them.
Right.
Okay, I don't have anything else. Thank you very much again for the great report. Very thorough, very thorough. And hats off on your event. It was well done. I haven't been in the museum for a long time, so it was well done. It looked great in there. So is there any other questions from council? All right, well, thank you very much. Enjoy your evening. Okay, moving on to consent agenda. Recommendation, please, Councilor Norbury.
That all items in the March 17th, 2025 consent agenda be moved for information.
Seconder, Councilor Roxana. All in favor? Carried. Are there any items council would like to bring forward for discussion? Councilor Norbury.
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to bring forth 7.2 for discussion.
Seconder, Councilor Dussault. All in favor? Carried. Councilor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Kakalkas. So in front of us, we have a request to also forward along a letter to the Premier and some ministries. I'm in support of it. Admittedly, I looked at the name, I'm like, Black Events, that's 17 Black Events. It's an interesting name, but they're just their company name. They do events and stuff like that. So I'd like to motion that we forward the attached letter on behalf of the District of Tumbler Ridge to the listed ministries and Premier.
Okay, seconder, Councilor Julik. Discussion, Councilor Oksana. Sorry.
Thank you. I believe this funding has already been announced from the province. Just chatting with Ms. Scott today, this seems to not be an issue anymore. And if we could take something off staff's plate, I would happily vote this motion down
Yep, thank you
if
for
it's
that.
not needed.
Yeah, I was going to make the same comment. Obviously, they've got elected and took forever to get back into work mode. My understanding there was an announcement. So I think it's something we could probably talk about at UBCM, just make sure it's always on their table, that they realize this is very, very important. But I also would suggest that if we are ever going to send a letter in regards to this to support other communities, that we mention some of our stuff within our community, because everything that's mentioned within their conversation is all down south. Nothing past Hope. And everything's either on Vancouver Island or in Vancouver itself that's listed here. So to me, when we support it, and I have no issue supporting something like that, even though we don't have to now with the funding, but we need to make sure we're talking about stuff that happens up here in the north. Because we don't want to just advocate for the south. We want to make sure they understand that we need it up here. TRD Society in regards to Grizzfest and the Fall Fair and anything else that's happening. Energetic City does their big outdoor event. So, okay, any more discussion? Okay, going to call a question on the motion. All in favor? Opposed? All the council is opposed. Motion is defeated. Any other items council would bring forward? Councilor Noxena.
7.4.
7.4 for discussion. Seconder, Councillor Hoffman. Okay. Do do you need to declare? So Councillor Julick's declaring conflict as she's the trustee with School District 59. Sorry. No problem. Call the question, all in favor? And that's not normal for me to do that. That's up to the elected official to announce their reasoning and that they have declared conflict. Councillor Knoxana.
Thank you. I would like to reach out to School District 59 and see if they're doing any of these workshops in our municipality. It's something we did last year as well, because on a school night, there's staff here in town that can't participate in this. And last year in Dawson, there's tons of school district staff participating from Dawson because it's easy for them to attend. I think they miss out on getting a lot of feedback from smaller communities if they're not willing to travel.
Yep. Any other discussion?
I can make a motion that we reach out to School District 59 with that, sorry.
Yeah. You want to make a motion now? Sorry.
I can make a motion that we reach out to School District 59 inquiring if they're coming to smaller communities.
Okay, seconder, Councillor Dussault. Discussion? Okay, I totally support it. I think we need to get it out. I think it was actually asked about it previously as well. Even when they were here as a delegation, it was mentioned in that delegation concept. My only comment would be, it's definitely a time-sensitive document. After this motion passes, I'll be honest, I will be at Kofi. So I'm not able to attend the event in Dawson Creek. So I just want to make sure it's known, but I do support it. Like we asked that from them last year. I think Councillor Knoxana, you brought it up and had discussion or heard comments back from other individuals from the community about it being on a work night and stuff by the time you're finished your shift to try and make it in here on their time schedules and such. So I think it's, again, we need to send that information. I think maybe they're not engaged enough in realizing that other local communities, smaller municipalities can't just up and leave, whether that's staff at our schools or parents that still have to pick up their children. So totally support it. Councillor Knoxana.
Thank you. Yes, I fully support that we participate in this workshop because I know there is a really big time crunch. I would also like that feedback to go to them, though, that it's really disappointing that this is year 2, that they're not making it a priority to get feedback from smaller communities. In fact, it almost looks like they're purposely excluding smaller communities.
Thank you. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Kalka. I support the motion on the floor because, yeah, like if I wanted to attend, I'd need to leave work an hour and a half early just to get there. And then I won't be back until 9:30 at night. I think it's appropriate for them to, even if it's every other year, right? To come in and reach out to the community of Tumbler Ridge. So yeah, I support it. Thanks for bringing it up, Councillor Knoxana.
Any more discussion on the motion? So the motion is to have staff reach out to them. Send an email, find out if they plan on coming, and if not, is there a reasoning? In my opinion would be, is there a reasoning? And will this be looked at? It's been asked in 2024 as well. So. Okay, going to call the question. All in favor? Carried. Again, is there anybody from, we'll have to wait. We're still dealing with it. Sorry. Is there anybody, thank you. Is there anybody from council that would like to attend the event on April 2nd? Councillor Knoxana.
I am available to attend.
Okay, so they're willing to take up to 3 people from council. So anybody else want to go? Okay, Councillor Dussault. Okay, I'll put a motion on the floor that we approve Councillor Knoxana and Councillor Dussault to attend the School District 59 Strategic Plan and Budget Consultation. Seconder, Councillor Norbury. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Carried. Anything else in regards to School District 59? Okay. Do you mind grabbing Councillor Julick, please? Sorry about that. Yeah, well, I'm okay to be at that. That's a different board. Okay. Councillor Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Kalka. I'd like to bring up 7.5 for discussion, please.
Seconder. Councillor Knoxana. All in favor? Carried. Councillor Norbury.
Sorry, I must have turned myself off. Thank you, Mayor Kalka. So after reading through the resolutions from the PRD, I support them, and they're asking for us to support the resolution. So I will motion that the DTR supports the 4 PRD resolutions to the 2025 NCLGA AGM.
Okay, seconder. Councillor Knoxana. Discussion. Make a couple comments. So this was brought up at the last PRD meeting that I attended, and it was other communities were looking at doing some of them, and a couple of these ones, and it was brought forward. There was 4 resolutions, but some communities were picking and selecting which one they were gonna support or send in to NCLJ. So a motion was made there that the PRD does it, and that any membering municipality that wants to support them to send a support letter as per the documentation in the folder. Just show support. That way we don't have multiple communities in the northeast sending in the same ones. So just made it cleaner. Okay, call the question. All in favor? Carried. Okay, any other items council would like to bring forward for discussion? Ms. Scott, I just want to confirm that we don't need a motion in regards to the UBCM membership. It's a normal thing that I know they sent a folder here showing us what they've been working on and such, and how they spend dollars, but it's a membership. I believe that we have probably a policy on doing it.
Yes, and it's included in your financial plan. Just to give council a little bit of information, the membership fees that we pay to UBCM went up approximately $48 in 2025.
Perfect, thank you. I just wanted to confirm, I've seen a thing there, so I just want to make sure we didn't miss it. Okay, just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Nope. Okay, moving on to Indigenous Resource Opportunities Conference. Correspondence dated March 17, 2025 regarding the Indigenous Resource Opportunities Conference registration. How would council like to deal with that? Move it for discussion? No, I'm just reading it there. I'm not sure what you guys, I think we need a motion either for discussion or information. I'll put a motion on the floor for discussion. Seconder, Councillor Gillick. Sorry?
It's in the consent agenda.
Is it? Did I miss that? Yeah. Okay, my apologies. I don't know where I was at. I thought I was following it too. Oh, well, that's all right. We can have discussion. Yeah, it's first day. So this, I believe, was put into our agenda by staff, and one of the reasons is at AME there was a lot of dialogue with the First Nations, so Chief Paquette and Chief Wilson. There was lots of questions. Am I attending this? Am I going to this one? Am I going to that one? So I know when I got back, I talked to Ms. Scott, and I said, I'm not sure which ones they're all talking about, but I said, it sounds like there's a bunch of these conferences coming up, and can we have a look? So I know staff, this was one of the ones they looked at. I never did reach back to Chief Wilson, but there was one in Toronto. I believe that was the one he was asking me about. So I looked at what this is about. I'm not into attending it. I don't think there's a benefit for myself or the community. But that's why it was put in the agenda, just so council's aware. Council Norbury.
Thank you, Mayor Kikak. I had a question, and staff might not be able to answer this, and it's honestly, it's partially on me for not doing my research on what this conference is, but it's not just for Indigenous people and their resources. Their resource opportunities, is it? Because I don't want to, attend if it's for Indigenous people. That's my only comment.
No, it's open to all.
Oh.
So it's about working relationships with Indigenous, but also opportunities for businesses and such. That's how I read it. I actually went online and read through it a bit. But that's what it sounds like. There's another one that's held, it's somewhere in Alberta. A lot of companies go to them, sometimes regional districts. Again, there's the one that I believe that Chief Wilson was talking about was in Toronto. I never did get a chance to look it up, but that's why this was put in. But, yep.
Thank you. Then I'd be interested in attending.
Okay. Put a motion on the floor that we approve the travel and conference fee for Councillor Norbury. Seconder, Councillor Julick. Discussion? Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Apologize if I didn't ask anybody else wanted to go, but nobody else pushed the button. Assuming we were good. Okay, anything else from the consent agenda before I move on? Okay. Bylaws, municipal ticket information bylaw amendment number 734, 2025, first 3 readings. Report dated March 17, 2025 from the Director of Protective Services, Fire Chief regarding the municipal ticket information amendment bylaw number 734, 2025, first 3 readings. Councillor Noxena.
The council gives the first reading to the District of Tumbler Ridge Municipal Ticket Information Amendment Bylaw number 734, 2025.
Seconder. Councillor Gillick. Discussion. Okay, going to call the question. All in favor? Carried. Second recommendation. Councillor Norbury.
That council gives second reading to the District of Tumbler Ridge Municipal Ticket Information Amendment Bylaw number 734, 2025.
Seconder, Councillor Julick, discussion. Call the question, all in favor? Carried. Third recommendation, Councillor Dussault.
That council gives third reading to the District of Tumbler Ridge Municipal Ticket Information Amendment Bylaw number 734, 2025.
Seconder, Councillor Hoffman, discussion. Just going to put it out there, if there's any concerns or any changes before we approve this, this is the time to do it, as if it comes to a final reading and there's concerns, we would have to go back and start this at number 3. We'd have to revoke number 3 recommendation, the third reading, to do any changes. Okay. No discussion? Questions? I want to thank staff for capturing this. Missed by, in my opinion, council previously when we went through this. Again, appreciate staff realizing that there was a misstep. We went through this process and staff was able to get this in front of council fairly quick. So thank you very much for that, Ms. Scott. I'm going to call the question. All in favor? Carried. Okay, new business 9.1 FCM and UBCM trade shows 2026. Report dated March 17th, 2025 from the Director of Economic and Community Development regarding FCM and UBCM trade shows for 2026. Recommendations. Councilor Nobre.
That council approve attendance at the 2026 FCM and UBCM trade shows, and that council approve the inclusion of up to $30,000 in the 2025-2029 5-year financial plan.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Julick, discussion. Councillor Julick.
Just want to say I'm in support of the motion. I think that our economic development department knows what they're doing, and I've always heard some really good things coming back from the trade shows, that they get a lot of people visiting and feel like they make lots of connections. So I think it will be, I'm glad they're staying on top of it and knowing which ones they can do and which ones they can't, because I see they kind of change all over the place. So I'm in agreement.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, I have a few. First thing I'm going to mention is thank you very much for the report. I know previously in no hammer staff capacity issues and all that, but the previous motion when we attended the first UBC and the FCM, there was supposed to be a report that came back at the end of those, just to see what staff captured, because as elected officials, we don't see all that goes on that floor. So I'm glad the report came forward. It really shows that the value we got of the dollars that were spent. I think that was very, very thorough in this report and mentioned. Again, I just appreciate the report has come through. I know it took a bit of time, but to me, it's huge. It really answers when we spend, I mean, it's 30,000, but it's 15,000 per event. But again, it shows that we're capturing certain things, and I get it when we go there, we're capturing mainly elected officials, but it's been mentioned within the staff report, you know, how we capture the other attendees at the trade show, so the other vendors. And I think that's really, really important, because a lot of those organizations are businesses. They're, you know, the pool people, the playground people, the lighting people. Those people see that. And, you know, I mean, I know it's very hard, it's mentioned in the report, to track the uptick in regards to how many people came in after we attended the FCM in Calgary. We don't know. I can say 4 people for sure. I can 100% say 4 people for sure, because they came to my store to make sure they came and met me. So I know for sure 4 people. 2 of them was a mayor and a councilor that came out of Airdrie, and a CAO and a councilor that came out of Chestermere. So that is relevant to the report. So I think it's hard to track if we see any uptick in regards to tourism out of it, but it definitely gets our name out there. A couple of the comments I see in the report from staff was a map. Where is Tumbler Ridge? Good idea. Good idea. Probably pretty important to show that we actually exist and we're actually in BC. Even when you go to the UBCM, I think it's very, very important. So I think staff hit the note there for sure. My comment would be, I know I did talk with Ms. Scott, and whether they had an opportunity or didn't have the opportunity at this point, was to reach out to UBCM or the Conference Center in Whistler to make sure they don't have a trade show there, but they do have booths out in the foyer. And I just thought sometimes it's an opportunity to offset these year after year so we're not doubling up. But I'm not sure, were you able to reach out, Ms. Scott? Or staff, sorry.
Staff has reached out earlier today when I was meeting with the Director of Economic and Community Development. We had not yet had a response, but since she is here in the room, we can, I'll ask her if she has any update, if she has had a response since we met earlier today.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I have not heard back yet. I did a little bit more research into trying to look at what sort of tiers there are for sponsorship, and it's not clearly identified in anything public from UBCM. They do have some pretty strict policies on sponsorship. It's a little bit different than any other kind of large event like this that I've seen. But yes, we have an email in and waiting to find out.
Thank you very much to staff for that. So again, I support the motion on the floor, but I think if things change, I think it could come back. And the reason I say it, because it offsets it year after year. And, I won't say it, it kind of splits the cost over 2 years instead of one single year, and it kind of splits staff time and commitment as well. Again, I think staff that attended this did a great job in advocating for Tumbler Ridge, showing what Tumbler Ridge had to offer. I don't know, there's things mentioned of, maybe considerations and what things we need to add. And one was a map of where Tumbler Ridge actually is, which I think is, we live here and we love it here, but not everybody knows where Tumbler Ridge is. The other thing I'm almost going to make a comment of, and, I'll leave it with staff, but, we really focus on the geopark and the tourism scenarios we have within our area. Maybe reaching out to the museum to see if we can take some artifacts with us. Hands-on touch. Everybody knows about Drumheller. I think they don't realize actually we have quite the gem in our community when it comes to fossils. And it might be just another, especially maybe not the UBCM, but going to Edmonton for the FCM, it's a fairly close travel. I would think most people may drive. We could probably take a few each, but I think it's important to add some of that stuff, hands-on approach. But I do support it. I think it's a great opportunity to showcase Tumbler Ridge. And I think we need to, and it was mentioned by staff, and I think it's something we can reach out and maybe have those discussions with UBCM to find out what their plan is, or if they have an agenda semi-set up yet in regards to speaking, or getting into a table setting. Sorry, I can't even remember if somebody can remember what it's called, but geez, can't remember the name of it or the wording for it, but that's fine. But something where we're speaking at something, or it's a platform we're on, whether it's a mayor's platform, if they're going to do one of them, like the BC Natural Resources did this year for the first time for mayors, something like that, NecDev platform. Panel, thank you. Panel platform, thank you. Thank you, perfect, panel. Something like that. I think last time we went to UBCM, we had a trade show booth there. Staff did an amazing job in a presentation. I thought it was well put together, well displayed, well talked about. To me, we got hammered later at a different topic, but I think we can, show that our tourism guide is better than any other municipality that has put out a tourism guide, and I'd fight that at any point. I think that'd be a great panel, just to showcase what we have and how much staff time is put into that. But yeah, I think we should reach out to UBCM to find out if they have anything started in regards to their agenda, so that we can see if there's something that partakes to, whether it's one of the councillors that can sit on something, if it's in their liaison situation, staff that are going to be there, including the CAO, if there's a CAO platform or panel, something like that. I think it's very, very important. Ms. Olson had mentioned that within her report, and I think it's something we need to make sure we do, including the FCM. FCM does the same thing, and if we have an opportunity to be able to do a panel there, I think we should be looking at that opportunity as well. Councillor Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to thank staff for including the measuring trade shows and demonstrated impact. I know that's hard to quantify, and it's really sort of in the back of my head when you're talking about 5 figures for something on how do we do that. But I don't think there's much of an argument. You just need to be part of the municipal group. Like, we just need to be active and need to be there. And we might get some tourism and some occasional new resident from these sorts of things, but really, it's part of being the municipal community, and fully support it.
Thank you. Councillor Norberg.
Thank you, Mayor Kakalka. And in comparison to communities our size, like, our name's out there. Like, people have heard about us, may not know where we are, but it's because of this effort that we put in and our staff put in, is putting us on the map in people's minds. And we have to keep pushing that home because, you know, there's 80 other municipalities, I'm just making up a number. There's a lot of other municipalities in BC that they can choose from to make their next home or travel destination. And if we already have a leg up, then we're doing a great job, and we are. So, yeah, support it. Thank you.
I guess just before I call the question, last question, I guess, Ms. Scott, if I may. Is there a way of partnering up at the UBCM? So I know we partner with BC, Northern BC Tourism or something like that. Don't know the wording, apologize. Where we can open up the size of our trade show booth if they were to join us?
I am not aware of those details, but I will ask the Director of Economic and Community Development if she has any information that she can share.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So you're correct, we do the larger consumer shows, the Outdoor Adventure Show and RV shows as a collective with Northern BC Tourism. It's not something that we've talked about before as that large group. We are divided up into two different co-ops, Northeast and Northwest, so it would be a larger discussion to see if that is something that the municipalities who actively participate in those shows would support, because the funding arrangement in that is a little bit different than just one municipality going. But it's something we can definitely look into.
So Ms. Scott, if I may ask, just to open or just to widen that comment, do we think that is viable? Do we think it's a benefit to do something like that before we send staff down the wrong path? Just from staff side. Best to stay as our own. This may be a good idea that we get better exposure for Northeast. Appreciate Northwest, Northeast. I'm not sure about doing it as a whole, but whether it's Northeast was the joint. I don't want to send staff down the wrong angle when we think it's better to stay just as our own.
So again, I will ask the Director of Economic and Community Development if she has an opinion on whether she thinks that would be beneficial or not.
Thank you. I think that it's an easy question to ask at one of our tourism meetings to get the kind of flavor of the other municipalities. I think everybody has different goals and objectives, and making sure that being at a more political realm focused show is what everybody would want to do. It could be a little muddier because every municipality has different asks. You know, the goals of these are, you know, usually minister meetings and things like that, that would it get confusing? Maybe, but it's something that we could look into.
Thank you, and I appreciate those comments. So I'm just curious, something I thought as we went along. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, the motion on the floor is that council approve attendance at the 2026 FCM, June 4th to 6th, and UBCM, September 14th to 18th trade shows. And that council approve the inclusion of up to 30,000, 15,000 per trade show in the 2025 to 2029 5-year financial plan. Call the question, all in favor? Carried. All right, fun part, schedule meetings. Ms. Scott. I know council received an email. We've had to cancel the budget meeting that was supposed to partake before this meeting. We had talked about doing a budget meeting at 3:30. That meeting had to be canceled due to that there was some information that had to be, that staff was waiting on, and obviously there was a holdup on it. That's why it had to be canceled. Just as council, I'm not sure how much everybody's aware. When do we look at rescheduling that meeting?
I would propose the latter half of the last week in March, potentially March 27th.
20th, what are we today, 17th? Okay, so I just want council to have a look at their schedules first. Make sure that fits. Councillor Hoffman.
I'll be in Grand Prairie on the 27th.
Okay. 27 doesn't work. 28th? Again, like when we're moving this, I mean, don't get me wrong, if 28 doesn't work, then we'll try the 26th. I just want to make sure this is an opportunity for all council to be here. We've had the council, and I think it's only right that we try to make sure that we can all be in attendance. Obviously, we pre-schedule our schedules just like staff does Does the 28th work for council? It's a Friday. When does, I apologize to ask this, but when does spring break end? That's the end of it? Okay. Does a morning meeting work better for council? Afternoon meeting? 5, Friday at 5, okay. Okay, put a motion on the floor that we schedule a budget meeting for 5 PM Friday, March 28th. Seconder, Councillor Noxana, discussion? Ms. Scott, if something happens, I'll be honest, I don't know my schedule. I am unaware, I might have I wasn't sure what date council was gonna pick, and I don't wanna go on my phone and look through my schedules. Huh? I don't know. Let's just take a 5-minute recess. My schedule, I have some pre-scheduled meetings already for the 28th, so I don't think I'd be available for 5 PM. I know we've have the motion on the floor, it's been seconded. Council can do as they wish. I won't be supporting the motion I put on the floor. Okay, can I call the question? All in favor? Opposed? All of council's opposed, motion is defeated. Gonna put a meeting out for, I'll put a motion on the floor that we do a budget meeting at 5 PM on March 31st. Councilor Julich? Discussion? Be honest, didn't ask before we second it, which we should have. 31st works for all of council? 5 PM. Yep, 5 PM. And that'll work for staff. Ms. Scott, I apologize, we didn't ask.
It works in my schedule. The Director of Finance is not here. I can double check that with her, but as far as I know, it should work.
Would it be appropriate to take a 5-minute recess? Just to confirm that date, like I'd be honest, if we schedule this meeting and our CFO is not available, I think it makes it tough to move forward. So I'll take a 5-minute recess. Order. Ms. Scott, were you able to confirm the March 31st?
Yes.
Works? Okay. Works for council? Okay, gonna call the question. All in favor? Carried. Okay. April. Anything from council? Okay, I am going to make a recommendation that we do not do the budget meeting and the policies and priorities meeting on the same night. I just seen what happened here, that we try to do it. We move times around to try and, I imagine council moves schedules around to try and make sure that 3:30 worked. I'm suggesting that we cancel the meeting on the 14th for the budget meeting and move it to the 16th. Would that work for staff before I put a motion on the floor, Ms. Scott?
Yes.
Okay. And I put a motion on the floor that we cancel the budget meeting on April 14th at 5 p.m. Seconder? Councilor Norbury. Discussion? The reason I'm putting that on the floor, I'll be honest, I seen what happened this week. I think staff has to work on a few details that they were waiting for from another department. That's why this meeting had to be moved. I'm not sure the timeline on them to get that information to have that put into the budget for the budget meeting on the 31st. I believe there will be some other things that come forward for discussion items in regards to some budgetary items. I think it will be the same concern on the 14th. So I will support my own motion to cancel the meeting on the 14th, and I do have a different date for that meeting. Councilor Oksana.
You had said the 16th, and the 16th is harder for me to accommodate. However, seeing how this last one went, I could make it work if it works for everyone else.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I am going to call the question on the motion. The motion is that we cancel the budget meeting on the April 14th. All in favor? Carried. Okay, to move that meeting, I did think the 16th, just with the last part in regards to the debate in the last motion. Does the 17th work better for council? Councilor Julik?
My preference is the 16th, just because it's just leading into the Easter weekend. It just gives me some extra time if I have to go pick up some kids. So I can make the 17th work. The 16th I feel would be easier, or would be preferable.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Norbury?
Thank you, Mayor Kalka. The 17th is a South Peace Health Services Society meeting that I'm the chair of. It'd be very difficult for me to adjust that. Thanks.
Okay. Councilor Oksana, can you make the 16th work, or is there a different day that we can move it to? Could we start at 4:30? Does that work for council? Okay. I'll put another motion on the floor that we move that, or have a budget meeting at 4:30 on April 16th. Seconder, Councilor Julik. Discussion? I apologize again, Ms. Scott, didn't ask if the 16th worked for staff.
Yes.
Thank you. Any discussion from council? Call the question, all in favor? Carried. Okay, anything else from council side? Anything from staff side in regards to March or April?
I just wanted to note, for those of you attending the Hope Truck ribbon cutting, that is tomorrow. That's not on the calendar.
Yeah. Tomorrow, and it's probably leave here around just before 1. I'll let two councilors know. Starts at 1:30. Okay. Anything else from council for March or April? Okay. Okay, any notice of motions from council? Okay. Councilor's business, thanks to Councilor Oksana and Councilor Norbury for your reports. Anything from council from the floor? Councilor Hoffman.
Thank you, Mayor. I attended the Trora meeting in lieu of Councilor Oksana, and it was nice to see the 5 different groups getting along so well and coordinating and looking to increase coordination over the coming future and events.
Very right, thank you. Councilor Julik.
I went to,
Sorry.
I did go to the Tumbler Museum Foundation meeting at the end of February, and I did not email the report to the proper people. I don't think I hit send, so it will be attached to whenever it comes again. So it was a good meeting. It was a good one for me to attend. My first one as the liaison, and super informative. So it was actually nice to get in on that before the delegation tonight. So
Perfect, thank you. Anything else from council for business off the floor? Okay, I have a few things. One, I attended the skating carnival. I was their MC. Hats off to the Tumbler skating, figure skating committee. They did a great job. Great job. Well decorated, well planned out. The children and the youth of this community definitely skated for the spectators. They did an amazing job. I thought their outfits and costumes were amazing. I think the theme this year was great. Again, well done. Thanks to staff, the mics work. Not so much the speakers. That's my understanding from people that were up in the thing, so I'm not sure. I'll be honest. The mic worked. I could hear myself because the speakers pushed straight down the ice, but I did hear from other people. But it is what it is, but it did work. And I know the Tumbler's Figure Skating Club thanked the DTR for all the work they've done in regards to help set up and all the stuff throughout the year. And quite a few businesses that obviously helped them and supported them. So again, great job. I just thought it was great watching all of those young kids skate and stuff and having fun. I think it was great. I did go to the inland beach party at the museum. Again, great event, well done. I've seen Miss Scott there and her and Jason, her husband. I've seen Miss Deso there. I think it was great. They did a great job. Tons of stuff in their silent auction. But yeah, I haven't been in the museum for a bit. It was Winter Fest down at the golf course put on by Tora. Again, another great event, done well. When I did get down there, it was later in the afternoon after the skating carnival had ended. Not as many residents down there. I think they thought they maybe see a fairly big uptick after the carnival had ended. But again, they were all outside. I thought they had everything well set up and did a great job. I did see that the Grizzly Valley ATV had their stuff set up, but they also had the brush clearing, I can't remember, they call it something else, but yeah, brush clearing machine that they were able to get support from the PRRD. So Electoral Area Director D had supported that organization in regards to purchasing that. This year they'll be using it. It sounds like they came in late last year, but it looks like it's going to obviously open up the trailways and make it easier for them. But it's not just ATV trails; they'll be using it on the sledding trails as well to assist that organization. So again, Councillor Hoffman mentioned Dora, with those pillars and really bringing those groups together and working through that. Again, the DTR obviously is a big part of that. In collaborating with them and starting that up, I think it's huge what they're doing over there. Their executive director is doing a great job, pushing for grants and all that stuff, trying to move a lot of stuff forward in a short amount of time. I think they're doing a fantastic job. Councillor Deso.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I also attended the Winterfest, but I was there earlier in the day. I managed to, there were a few people down there. And also had a bit of a chat with our MP, Bob Zimmer, and our South Peace MLA, Larry Neufeld. And also ran into Jennifer from Northeast Destination BC as well. So, yeah, it was a fun time. It was good.
It's good to hear. Yeah, and I wasn't able to be there when Mr. Zimmer handed out the award in town, but I guess, they need to make sure they reach out in a timely fashion, not last minute, but so it happens. I did have a meeting with our CEO, attended with myself. The province with the UBCM is really who set it up and started working with the province to try to get this meeting together. It was in regards to tariffs. So myself and Ms. Scott attended it. Brittany Anderson, the Minister of State, is the individual minister that was working with UBCM to get this meeting set up. Premier Eby did come in and make a few comments, really looking for everybody to partake in it. Asked everybody to, definitely speak, make your comments, be open, be frank. There was definitely a few communities that were frank, which I think is good. I think it definitely moved the dialogue along. Minister Calhoun, he leads the tariffs committee. So he's the housing minister, but he leads this tariffs committee. So he was also there and answering questions when questions were asked. They had 116 attendees in this Zoom. They're really pushing, and I know staff was going to look into it, but Sport Canada with a purchasing policy, there was something that had come out, and I know staff was going to circle back. There was some stuff that came out from the federal side, but also from the provincial side about it, and how that could work within our purchasing policies to make sure that we are following the Fair Trade Acts and all the other stuff that staff have to make sure they're have a pulse on it, that we're not outside that realm. They talked about the round 2 tariffs are out for consultation through President Trump. I don't want to get political about it, but I guess he does have a round 2. So they sound like they're aware of some of it, and it's going out for consultation in the USA. So we'll see what happens there. I don't know, and maybe Ms. Scott could answer, but I want to say there was probably about 15 questions asked. Out of those 15 questions, 10 were from the Northeast. We had an opportunity to ask our question, but yeah, we were well represented in the question and answer period. Hats off to the other communities, including Fort Nelson, Chatwin, Fort St. John, ourselves. Can't remember who else was on there, but yeah, they definitely knew that we were all there, and we had our fair chance. So hopefully we'll see something come out of it. There was lots of talk. I know Ms. Scott had wrote some comments down, or some concerns down, to make sure we circle back to check. Big talk about emergency vehicles. Ordering fire trucks, now tariffs have gone up. What does that look like for our fire truck that is in budget session? There's other communities that are maybe a little bit further along, but those, I know that was the biggest talk there in regards to that, to make sure there's some kind of support if those fees really hit the high mark in regards to municipalities being able to afford fire service vehicles or that. So that was noted by both ministers that were on the call. They talk about eventually, as they work with the federal government as well, about money becoming available and how that's going to be dispersed, or what groups are going to get it. Is it mainly going to be in regards to agriculture, or what does that look like? So everybody talked about it. Everybody's doing procurements in regards to sidewalks, roadways, anything like that, buildings, such like that. What's that impact going to look like? And we need to make sure the provinces are prepared to help. Whether it's themselves through some of the funding they're going to see from the federal government, or helping assist through ourselves with the federal government to make sure that we're getting support, whether it's our municipality or other municipalities. So I thought it was a great call. They talk about making sure we dialogue back, and I know Ms. Scott and that there was other questions that were being sent, and other people could email and send other questions in, and those questions will come out back to staff and myself once they get them all together with a response from the ministries. So I thought it was a great meeting. Came in last minute. I'll be honest, didn't reach out to council because it was directly that it was for mayors and chairs. One of the questions was asked on there: why can an electoral area director not attend? And that's because that's why you have a chair of a regional district. So they wanted to keep the numbers down to make sure they had enough room on the Zoom. So just so council's aware of that one. That's it. I think that was it for me. Yep, that's it. Okay, question answer period. Any emailed in questions, Ms. Scott?
No.
Thank you. Take a resolution for a closed meeting, please. Councilor Norbury.
That the March 3rd, 2025 regular council meeting be closed to the public according to section 91E and J of the Community Charter to permit discussions about E, the acquisition, disposition, or expropriation of land or improvements if the council considers that disclosure could reasonably be expected to harm the interest of the municipality, and J, information that is prohibited or information that, if it were presented in a document, would be prohibited from disclosure under section 21 of the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy Act.
Seconder, Councilor Noxana. All in favor? Carried. 5-minute recess.